Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Enlightened podcast. My name's Tim, your usual host. I'm joined by a Team Galaxy member as usual, but we have a new face of the show, Jacob. How are you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Doing so swell. Dynasty's out, just chilling here, talking about FaB. Did you crack a bunch of Dynasty like I did? I think I opened a case.
You open a case? You open anything good?
Opened a rainbow foil crown of make a gold, get killed by regicide.
Oh, you got the royal, the crown, the
yeah.
card that I think is not good.
It's pretty bad. I saw this Reddit thread today that was like, what is the use case for this? Like, because it's like a one-time pay to draw a card, and I guess like Genus or like.
I don't know. And it's interesting too because I feel like a lot of the bad cards in the set are PvE oriented, and this card doesn't even seem good in a PvE situation. Like, I don't know why you'd ever want to just like be the king, emperor.
Yeah.
In a PvE situation.
I can't think of any cards besides Regicide that reference like royals. So like, or at least not any powerful ones. So I don't know. I'm sure maybe like future sets or something. It's a cool card and it's a legendary, so I'm happy that I pulled it. What about you? What did you open in your Uprising packs? Or not Uprising, your Dynasty packs?
Yeah. I opened I actually was super excited. I opened a Marvel mech suit.
Ooh.
Like, very, very cool.
Hell yeah.
Opened both of the light legendaries, so the Spirit little necklace for Bolton and
nice.
The Ally. Not marveled, but was still good to pull both legendaries. Yeah. And then pulled a Marvel tiara. So I actually had a really good case.
Yeah, that's solid, actually. If I'm wrong, I might be wrong, but I think on average a Marvel is like one per case, if that.
Yeah.
And then like you get like one cold foil a box, or maybe exactly one cold foil a box. I don't know if they've confirmed that. And then I feel like if I hit a legendary if I hit a legendary in one case, I feel like I'm happy. Which now that I think about it, I'm like, man, this game is kind of expensive. But that's fine. I need a hobby, so. Yeah. Well, so cool. Yeah. Folks in the comments, let us know if you had any sick polls. Obviously, I would love to hear about those. Unless they're too good, and then keep it to yourself. They're not, because I'll be jealous.
No one cares about your fabled CNC, even though it's the coolest thing to pull.
God, I kind of want them, but I'm like, I don't want to pay for them. If I cracked one, I'd probably just play it, because like, no, I'd probably sell it and buy like 3 more regular CNCs.
I feel like, I definitely say this is like someone who's not that much into collecting, but if I pull that card, I immediately sell it. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
hard to find all, or I have a Ophidia for any forsaken reason why I'm buying a box for that much. I'm selling that card immediately.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way. Like, I think that the way we've seen boxes go, or the way that we've seen sets go, especially since Tales of Aria, I should say, because like first edition Monarch and first edition like Arcane and all that stuff, it's like it felt like a lot more limited because the game wasn't as popular, and I feel like the print run was less, or at least that's what we're told now. But like, and then Tales hit, and everybody got like sick of Tales of opening Tales before Unlimited even came out, and so there was just like a huge supply of like cold foils and stuff. Like a cold foil Crown of Seeds was like $200, and then the cat came out of the bag, and now it's like $60-$70. I don't know.
Oh, but, wow, really? Yeah, that's real. I got in. That's all before my time. Right. I got in like spoiler season for Everfest, so the tail end of Aria.
Yeah.
So since I've been in the game's been in a really good spot. Like booster boxes are a reasonable price, cases are a reasonable price. Singles can still be crazy. Like definitely when I got in Crown of Seeds, it was a very expensive card.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy to watch that kind of level out, but you still have your spendy cards like your Tunic and CNC, and I don't know what they're gonna do to kind of like help the price gap of I'm a new player, I want to get in, I want to get serious. Okay, cool. You're gonna need to have $200 to buy 3 CNCs to play serious.
Yeah. and it's like it is they're walking a balance, right, of like people like there's collectors who are like, no, I have a CNC and it's worth like, and this is why I'm kind of bummed that like, and this isn't actually a financial episode, but I think this is a good conversation. But and it's actually, I mean, it's a good, we're gonna talk later about how we like got into FaB and the other card games we played growing up and stuff. But no, I think it's a great discussion because like there's a fine line, and this is one of the reasons that I really liked the idea of first edition versus unlimited, is that there's like a collector's edition, even though it was like available to everybody, you could buy it for like the price of a booster pack, but there's only a certain amount of them, and maybe the packs were like a little bit more expensive, but like the cards were more collectible, and so you had a thing for collectors, and then you had the unlimited edition for non-collectors. And I think probably like for the overall health of the game and prices, I think it was probably healthy to like do away with that, but yeah, I mean, you're seeing too now like the overall value of a set has, I feel like it's gone down a bit. Like Uprising was good EV, but like think about like Everfest, think about like the EV for Dynasty. I feel like it's like gone down, it's tapering off a little bit, yeah. And I think it's a good thing. But all this to say that like when you think of things like CNC and Enlightened Strike and Tunic and like all these and E-Strike's not that expensive anymore, but like for CNC, which still stays steady around $60 or whatever, it's like it's really hard to go to a new player and say, if you want your deck to be really competitive, you have to drop $180 on 3 cards, or $120 on a Spring Tunic or whatever, right? And there's budget options, but still it's tough. It's a tough sell sometimes. So.
Well, and I think they're trying to get around that solution by giving each specific class like a CNC.
Yeah, totally.
Like something that attacks the arsenal. And it's just not as effective. It's because CNC is such a well-rounded card.
Yeah.
I think we have seen a move away from every deck running it. Like there are lists that are coming out that just don't run CNC because it doesn't really fit in the plan. When I ran FI at the Calling in San Jose, I don't know how many times I definitely put it in because of Archer bothering me about it, and he's right. I mean, he's 100% right, but I only ran it in like 2 games, and I think that I could have gone through the day without using it and still done really well, and I think that says a lot about the game more than anything. And it's hard to explain that to people, where you're like, this game is so skill intensive. I actually was talking to someone the other day about getting into it, and he was like, how are they mitigating like pay to win? And I was like, through a good game. Like if someone shows up and they have all this stuff, you can plop your deck in front of someone you just brought into the game, and it may have all the fancy cards, and they'll still lose to a better player on a not attuned deck. Just because you have to understand the game to win.
Yeah, I mean a good example of this is like we have a friend that I would consider her a friend. I don't know if she considers me an acquaintance, but Jada. So she recently she played a lot of Azalea and like some other stuff, and she got her collection stolen. But then she rebuilt FI. Only ran like 1 Art of War, ran Sash of Sandakai instead of Tunic, stuff like that. But like she was kind of tearing it up for a while. Like she had consistently like X1, went undefeated. I lent her Art of Wars and E-Strikes and a Tunic and like Mask of Momentum and stuff one night, and she just totally like shredded everybody. So I had to take it back.
If you have the cards, your deck is just that much better. Yeah. But yeah, I remember that era, and she was still regularly topping armories, being at the higher tables, and just
with worse cards, right? Like
exactly, just through skill, just through playing well.
Yeah,
and that's how the game kind of mitigates that. I mean, but nothing really. You're not going to be good enough to not run Tunic. You just have to run a deck that doesn't run Tunic.
Yeah,
and there are plenty of those decks. There's actually plenty of those decks.
And I've thought about that too with like with like Dromai, for example. Like I don't own like a flame scale furnace right now, and like I have friends that can lend it to me or whatever, but like I've thought a lot. It's like maybe I should I think it'd be a fun project to make like a budget Dromai list, because like some of the dragons are like a few dollars more than others, but like most of the dragons are pretty cheap. Most of the rest of the deck is commons. And then you play like sink belows and sand covers and stuff, and like there's not really Flame Scale Furnace is like a really good card to have in your deck, and it's important for the longevity and like when you're grinding out games and you're generating ash. But I could see playing Dromai with like Sash of Sandakai and Silken Form and stuff. And Silent Stilettos. I think you'd have to make some deck building changes, but I think you could make a good budget deck for like most heroes. And like when I say budget, I don't mean like less powerful. I mean slightly less powerful. Like you lose a few percentage points, but like I think if you build your deck slightly differently, you can make a lot of really good decks for very little money. And it's just a good way to start, dip your toes into the game.
Yeah. I spent months playing the game, playing Blitz. You only have to buy 2 copies of stuff, and I had a ton of fun. Like I dipped my toes in for months before I finally went and spent like 100 plus on my Tunic.
Yeah,
and it's kind of funny, but it's like that was like my initiation. I feel like that was like me diving in and being like I like committed to this game. I bought at the time it was Skull Cap, so I bought a Skull Cap and a Tunic. And that was quite a bit of money, but it's
reverse stonks on the Skull Cap, man. Right before the Crown of Providence.
Yeah, talk about all TCGs have power creep. I feel like that is a strict power creep card. But even then, it's like Skull Cap blocks for 3. It's got the Arcane Barrier. Yep. It has a use case.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it's also like like drawing a card isn't like really good, but like Skull Cap is still Skull Cap. It's really good. Well, great segue. You just said, the words other TCGs. But no, we wanted to talk today about how we got to play. Like, why do we love Flesh and Blood? Why do we play Flesh and Blood? Why is it so good? And we just talked about it a little bit, right? Like, we kind of alluded to this. Like, it's really skill intensive. We'll get there though. But let's go back. Back to when we were wee lads. And we were, playing card games, doing nerd stuff, whatever. What was your path to Flesh and Blood? When did you first get into card games?
So it's cool when I think back on it. I think I've really been into card games like my whole life. Because some of my first memories as a child is learning the Pokemon card game with my dad, right? Because Pokemon took over the country in the 90s, and I was a child of the 90s, so my dad taught me how to play Pokemon. Probably begrudgingly learned it, but loved it. And then I had a cousin teach me Magic, and I'm talking like 8 years old. My cousin who's like 13 is teaching me Magic. And then you have Yu-Gi-Oh comes out. Yu-Gi-Oh comes out, and I'm 10 years old, and that becomes the coolest thing in the world to me, and it's entirely a cartoon about playing a trading card game.
Yeah.
So I play Yu-Gi-Oh a lot with my friends. So that's like my kitchen table era. And then around high school, I never really caught the Magic bug. I felt like the community was like too ingrained or too big for me to approach personally. I never really got into that. And I instead played a game called UFS, which is now called Universes. And I played that seriously through, I don't know, like 12 to 16. So like a lot of my formative years are playing a card game and playing it like a teenager. So not having the money to buy boxes, not having the money to travel for bigger tournaments. So like anytime I got to do that stuff was like really important to me, and they felt like big moments. Like my first road trip without a parent involved was to go play a card tournament in California, and that's like a core memory. Like I don't remember that forever. I built this UFS is a fighting game based card game, so you play Street Fighter characters and stuff.
Right.
I built this awesome Zangief deck that was a fatigue deck, and it was no one had like seen it before, and it wasn't like I wasn't net decking this. Screwed this up, and it did really well, and I just remember being really fulfilled by that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That game dissolved. I moved. You grow up. You're like in your late teens, and card games aren't as much your focus. But mid to late 20s, I have always wanted to stimulate that again, and like find a card game that I could commit this time to and find friends and just be in that world. That wasn't Magic. That was actually important to me personally, as it had to be a game that wasn't Magic.
Yeah.
I like I like being a part of a newer community. I like being part of games where stuff is new and you get to watch it unfold instead of coming into this like 20-year monolith. Um, it just
Yeah.
feels a little less approachable to me personally. That's not to speak on anybody else's enjoyment on the game.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, yeah, and I feel kind of the same way about Magic. I played Magic kind of seriously for a long time. I was like grinding I was grinding like PPTQs and stuff. And I never really like made anything of it, but like it was a good experience. But like when I started, it was I definitely remember the Yu-Gi-Oh era where yeah, we saw like the TV show and then like we got the starter decks, which were like a black magician deck and then like a blue eyes
Right.
white dragon
The
deck.
Blue Eyes Dragon,
Yeah, which like those cards I think are like ass, but I don't know. Who knows?
I have no idea in the world.
Yeah, but like we were like, oh, this is so powerful, and but then we played but yeah, but even before that, I've always like it's kind of weird because like my family is really religious and like there was like a whole with like the Pokemon was kind of the first story. Like I think we like played a few games, but it was more about just like collecting the Pokemon cards and like opening booster packs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have any of them anymore, but some of the old ones that I've opened were probably worth like several $100s a piece now, but c'est la vie.
People finance homes on Pokemon cards in 2020.
Yeah,
it's real.
Yeah, it's stupid, and I feel like a fool for like I think I like maybe my sister has them. I like gave them my sister at some point, but who knows if I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, and like it was weird because like there was a whole like satanic panic thing in the 90s, and like Christian parents were like, yo, this Pokemon stuff's not cool. It's like Bulbasaur is one of Satan's chief lieutenants, and it's like they're thinking of Beelzebub or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like my dad's actually a pastor, and so he like looked into all this. And he's like, well, this is nonsense. Like, go play Pokemon, kids. I don't care.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
it was lit. And then like we played this other card game. It was the Star Wars trading card game or the collectible card game.
Tale of this game.
One of the best card games. It was like kind of complicated and like you had to have multiple decks, like you had to have light center, dark side. It was like kind of weird, but like that was the first card game that I went like super deep into. And you were talking about like grinding on like like a $10 allowance or whatever. It's like I basically I got my dad into it and he really liked it, and I begged him to buy me booster packs and decks and stuff. And so eventually I was able to like scrape together a couple of decks that I really enjoyed. And and my dad actually went with me and my brother to play tournaments and stuff. And yeah, there's still actually there's like an online client, kind of like Teleshar for it where people still play the game and it's still really, really good from what I hear, but I just haven't, I mean, I don't know. But it got bought by Wizards and they're like, well, it's a competitor with Magic, so they kind of changed it and killed it, but whatever. And then yeah, I mean, similar to you, I until I was like probably 20, it was like 24 years old or something. I was like, I'll pick up some starter Magic decks, like that could be fun. And I played with Buddy, and then yeah, I was like, oh, this is so fun. And then I, Wizards curb stomped it a little bit, and it's still going, but and it's still very successful, but it's not my jam anymore. But yeah, I think you touched on a really important point where being a part of like growing the Flesh and Blood community, at least in our area, has like been so special to me. And also the game's just really fucking good. Like it's just a good game. Even in like the bad metas are like, oh, such and such is so broken. It's like even in the Starvo meta, which is like probably the most notorious, like I still like Flesh and Blood is still like even in that era, I think it's just such an insanely good game.
Yeah, I can't speak on that. I never actually I experienced Starvo meta, but I didn't experience it like a lot of people did because I wasn't playing CC at that time, right? I came in and was playing Blitz around Everfest. So like I played one pro quest at the very tail end of that and experienced Starvo for just a little bit.
Well, yeah, and like I think you and Dylan went to that same pro quest, and Archer and I top 8'd, and I think that you and Dylan bubbled or something. I bubbled in, you bubbled out.
I
But
literally was ninth. I sucked.
that kind of sucked. I think I like literally took your spot. But the yeah, that was the Starvo meta, and I think there were like two Starvos in the room. And it's like
Yeah.
it never felt, yeah, it didn't feel that bad to me. And like I think that maybe on the big stage of like the Pro Tour or whatever, it was a little more whatever, but yeah. Um
Oh, so to get back to the point of getting into FaB, you
yes.
brought up Dylan. Dylan's an important part of that. So, I'm looking to get into a card game that's new or whatever, and I found a game called Keyforge actually that really appealed to me. Made by Richard Garfield, guy made Magic. I love the idea of it. It was like, hey, you don't have to pay a bunch of money to collect cards. You just buy a $10 deck, and it's about just being good with your random sealed deck. Essentially, it's like a sealed format all of the time. That really excited me. Um, and then that game kind of died. But what I found through that game was Team Covenant, YouTube channel, and they were stuck in my algorithm after watching hours of Keyforge content,
Right.
and they brought up Flesh and Blood, and so I'm seeing this like on my algorithm, like okay, another new TCG. I know this is my thing. I just want to find a community that plays TCGs, and
Yeah.
I know at the time Dylan, my buddy, was playing a lot of Magic, like online arena,
Yeah.
whatever the online client is, and he's playing it a bunch. And I was just like, hey, there's this new trading card game coming out. It looks really cool. It's been out for like 2 years. It's doing really healthy. There's local like tournaments and stuff. Would you be interested in like kind of split a collection with me, kind of go in halvesies, so that even if the scene falls out, we can just play against each other? And
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, totally. We went and bought blitz decks and some boosters, and then I think 2 or 3 days later we bought Bach, and we're
Nice.
just on to the races. And now we're both Team Galaxy Brain members, and it's awesome. It's great to be in this game and part of this community. Um, but yeah, so having a buddy to get into it was a huge part of it too, right? So it's like this whole thing for me is about making friends and like
Yeah.
having time to spend with new people and meeting new people through something really engaging is playing a game, playing a tabletop game specifically.
Yeah, I tried that same thing with my wife, and she's just not a fan of like I don't know. I'm like really like competitive at card games, and so I was like, hey, like I bought a couple of Blitz decks, like let's play, and she was pretty good at it, but she just wasn't it wasn't her cup of tea. But that's I mean that's really cool. Yeah, you and Dylan both members of Team Galaxy Brain. And yeah, I mean even just like we call ourselves Team Galaxy Brain, but like we're not like super exclusive or anything. Like we have accepted a lot of like folks in, and it's like it's really fun to like because we become we've slowly become friends outside of the game, and it's just a really like I think it's a really fun environment to just like hang out, have a good time. Like
It's a community team, not a
yeah,
competitive team.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
definitely more about the camaraderie of getting better together, and
yeah.
it's definitely all people who take it seriously though. Like we don't have anyone I would consider casual.
Yeah, 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 100%.
It's all people who care.
Yeah,
But I don't think until we become competitive, I think we're all happy to be like we're a community.
yeah,
But we're gunning for it, right? Like we wanna put up more top eight calling
yeah,
finals, and
yeah.
maybe someone on the team takes it home for us.
And I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because I do want to clarify we have some good results on our team. We got
We do have some good
Archer, yeah, he day two'd the what was it like the Calling New Jersey, and then he dropped because he was like I'm tired. But then he like made up for it with like the next the Pro Tour Lille, which he qualified for by winning the pro quest that we both were at. And he got 24th, which is actually insane considering the field. And then Eli, who we just did a deck tech with, go check it out. I'd say I'd put the link in the description or whatever, but like I'm probably gonna forget, so here we are. But yeah, like we have we have some really good results so far, and I think that like, and what I love is that they haven't let it go to their head, and they still like they're not like they haven't gotten super arrogant, and they, like they're willing to like share their knowledge and discuss ideas with us. And like if I were to go to Archer or Eli and say, hey, like I think this like choice in your deck is like, why are you doing this? Why don't you do this? Like they're not gonna be like, oh, I don't know. Like they're not gonna brush me off. Like they'll still like I still feel like we're all a part of a team, and I think it's really awesome, even though
engaged.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's a big part of having a good community. You know what I mean? Like that's definitely what keeps me in the game, is that I can talk to people that I respect in the game and people I would consider like maybe a better player than I am, and it's like that's how you get good at the game.
Yeah,
you talk to people who you can learn something from. And I'm just glad to be in a city and in a community where I have those people and I have access to those people.
100%.
And we can all just help build each other up, which is really cool. It's really fun to brew decks with a group of people and like have bounce ideas. Like we were brewing up Rhinar. I'm sure we're going to continue to brew up Rhinar into this next season. I'm really excited to talk about that deck sometime during this podcast. It's what I'm here for is meeting all of the people I can. And play a really, really fucking good game while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, like that kind of makes me think of like we both went to Worlds together. We shared a big house. We talked about it a little bit on the or me and Eli talked about it on our last on the last episode a little bit while we were doing the Lexi deck tech. What was your Worlds experience like? Like I personally had a blast. I won't go too far into it because I talked about it at ad nauseum previously. But what about you? What was Worlds like for you? And like what was the important part going in?
Worlds was awesome. I think I got both of the experiences I was really looking for. I definitely was looking to like hang out with friends, like it was a group vacation, like a boys' vacation kind of idea. And I was like, oh, cool, I get to go have fun and play FaB. I went to the Las Vegas calling, the team calling, and that was fun, but I was more new to the game, and I essentially had made a team of like locals from armories, and it was fun, but I'm from Vegas, my hometown, so a lot of that time was spent with family.
Nice.
And stuff. So I got a double whammy of like, oh, cards and family, but it was also this feeling of like it was team blitz, so it wasn't like I wasn't being held accountable for my wins or my losses. It was like how we did as a team.
Yeah.
So this one I was really kind of gunning for doing well, but not putting that pressure on myself.
Yeah.
So I told myself like, hey, if I go to this calling and I scrub out, I'll literally just go get drinks and like have a good day. Like my buddy from Sacramento was in town, so I was like, oh, I'll just go hang out with my friend in California, whatever. I got both of the experiences I want. Then I did well. Then I won the first 5 rounds of my calling, and I really had a shot.
Did you start 5-0? Man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I started.
Oh, man.
I started doing it, and then I lose my last 3, which was a little dejecting. But at that point, I was already kind of buzzing that I had made it there, and that I was essentially 1 round away from day 2.
Yeah,
it just made me feel like, okay, cool. Next time I come, I'm doing day 2, but I gotta have that same mentality of like, if I scrub out, I'm still here to have a good time. And I think that Worlds definitely encompassed this feeling of like we had an awesome time, man. Like, we got drinks and had good food and hung out with fun people and met people. Like a good vacation, whether or not I did well at the board game.
My favorite name that somebody threw out Bro Tour, and then Dylan threw out I think what I thought was the better one, the Bro Quest. We were all on the Bro Quest. But yeah, I'll agree, and I think that like it does. I didn't know you started off 5-0. I thought you went. Yeah, I thought you were like 4-2 or like like I thought you. Oh, man, but yeah, that is rough to hear that. But like like you and it makes me more surprised because you like not surprised, but like it makes me happy that you like like you handled it really well and like you were happy with your result. And but yeah, as a team we were like including Tyler and Eli in the calling, we were like 19 and or well no more than that, it was like 39 and 19 or something. We had like across the team we had a great record, which like, and that's including Archer, who's just a scrub and went 4-4. Just kidding, but I mean kind of Archer. But I mean I think that like that's like what made me happy and made me think that like we have built a really good community is that you, Natan, myself, all three of us went 5-3 and we like narrowly missed the cut. And like there were a lot of times where I was like, oh man, like I should have done like XYZ different or whatever, but like we were all really happy about it, and that's what made me think that we've built a really healthy mentality and a really good team to like kind of build ourselves up, and that made me really happy.
Yeah, I feel like if we, grind and like have more serious testing going into the next season, I don't see why we wouldn't be a competitive team and put up some standings. So that'll be fun,
That's actually the sentiment that I think all of us had kind of separately and then brought together is like, I think we got out of this what we put into it. Like we were like, if we had prepared like just a little bit more. So yeah, but yeah, I think it makes us. I think I'm hopeful for this upcoming ProQuest season. I feel like we're just gonna smash it in the Portland area, honestly.
It'll be tough because it's gonna be a lot of us. Well, we do have people who travel down. Like we do have some.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Which I'm excited to see. I want to see, the best caliber players come to Portland and make it difficult. For this ProQuest season.
Yeah, Yuki Lee Bender's been and the Canadian crew, including Ian Smith and Clay. I keep forgetting his last name. I keep wanting to say Clay Aiken. It's not Aiken. It's like Clay DeAngelis, something like that. But they both made top 8 on a kind of a spicy Rhinar deck for Canadian Nets. I feel like I see them at every rated event, which is great. It just like it makes me happy that there are like a lot of competitive people in the in the rated scene here. So yeah, man. So where like okay, so we talked about how we got into FaB. How like I kind of want to bring this like we've actually I feel like we've brought this in a really good path here. So we talked about how we got into FaB and kind of like our competitive mentality. But like as you get into FaB and as you've gotten into FaB, what have you found have been like the best ways to like help you improve? And you talked about this a little bit, but like I'd love to hear you expand on that.
Talking about just how to get better at the game.
Yeah, like how do you get better at the game? What do you do to consistently improve?
I mean, shit. I think about the game quite a bit.
Same.
I think asking questions is super important, right? Like, but it's also knowing what questions to ask, like getting more specific with what I'm trying to learn. So I think me personally, I have been trying to choose decks as learning experiences. So I'm generally an aggro player in every card game I play. I like to go fast. I like to play a lot of attacks. I like to be kind of forcing my opponent to make the decisions. That's where I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And this game has definitely forced me to learn other styles of play because that's where Flesh and Blood shines, is that a deck should and can be made to operate differently depending on the matchup that you're in.
Yeah.
And so I've been playing other decks to kind of learn new things about the game. And I think it's really smart from LSS standpoint to design decks that way. So I play Rhinar to learn how to like mid range. I played Dromai to learn how to pitch stack, which I found really rewarding. I played Dromai for like a month and a half, 2 months, and really just tried to focus on learning how to pitch stack, finding my pitch stack, knowing my important cards.
Gotta pitch stack that double semblance ghostly touch, man. That's the move.
And then it's like Rhinar teaches you what?
Oh, I said it's unbeatable. I was being sarcastic. You were saying about Rhinar.
Oh, Rhinar teaches you kind of like, good arsenal targets and mid-ranging, really this idea of like, oh, I can take multiple turns off, steady blocking and having a huge combo turn or just blocking 3 and swinging my club is an efficient strategy.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. So yeah, to kind of not beat around the bush, the best way to get good at this game is to play it often, but to explore within it.
Yeah.
Explore different ideas that the game presents. Like, It's not just about sequencing big turns. It's about knowing when to find blocking hands. It's about learning your matchup knowledge. All of these kind of pieces and parcels that can be taken on little by little. I think it's really intimidating, and a lot of players try to jump in all the way in and learn all of the stuff at once. And it doesn't work for me personally. I find it way more conducive to kind of get bit by bit, and I might level up slow, but I think that it makes my level ups more.
Yeah,
they stick a lot harder.
Yeah, and I'll just I'll bounce off of that too and say that part of it is I just have ADHD, so it's I can't focus on one thing for too long. But I like to bounce around on decks and it's the one thing that's something that I can't stress enough to people is if you can find a community that's comfortable lending out decks and lending cards and stuff, which most people just beyond our team in our Portland scene is you borrow this for a week, I'll see you next Wednesday and drive it back from here or whatever. And some communities may not be like that, but being able to switch decks more easily is very nice. I went from only playing Oldham and Bravo and that kind of stuff, and I was yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna try Kano, and I sucked at it, and I didn't put in a lot of reps, but I played Kano, and what I learned is same thing. I learned pitch stacking and playing to your outs and sculpting your hand and coming up with a long-term strategy. And it's weird because you can't bring a lot of other you can't play Oldham and bring a ton of those skills into something like Kano, which is just a straight up combo deck. Not to say there aren't any, but very few. But you can take a lot of skills from something like Kano into other decks. And for example, I went from Guardian to Kano to Rhinar, which I love Rhinar because he's such a deceptively complex hero. And
Rhinar is this thing where I think once you get a taste of the apple, you're hooked.
Yeah.
And you hear the same thing about Levia, and I definitely haven't seriously tried Levia, and I'm sure it's the same way, but Rhinar got me hooked. I played it in Blitz a couple times.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the calling in Las Vegas. And I came out of that just absolutely hooked on Rhinar. I didn't end up playing him at calling San Jose for Worlds, but that's just because I thought it wasn't good enough. I know the deck is really good. I think my aggro brain
turns out it was good enough.
It was,
yeah. First place, two in the top 8. Yeah,
2 in the top 8, 1 to finish it out.
Yeah,
and you know what's the other fun part about Rhinar is that there's no definitive build. A lot of these heroes have very solved decks for the most part. Your deck's going to be maybe 5 cards, 6 cards different from the next one. Rhinar's not like that.
Yeah.
Rhinar keeps popping up with crazy builds.
There's very few core cards in Rhinar. It's you always play Swing Big. You always play some number of Reckless Swing and Blue Wrecker Romp and stuff like that. But there are very few absolute staples in Rhinar, and I think a lot of its cards are very flexible depending on the meta. Which is what I like is that if you know how to play Rhinar, you kind of know the general play style, and you can tailor that play style to your specific build. And that's what I took. I took my experience with Kano of sculpting your hand, picking your blocks, deciding if you're going to chip back, and I took that to Rhinar, and it felt a lot easier to pick up that deck because Rhinar math is less complex than Kano math. But and I think all this to say that I think your point about playing a lot of different decks is very, very valuable. Even if you just play one or two, if you're playtesting with a friend that has Icelander and you're on some other deck and you're can we just switch decks for a minute, and just you play Icelander and you're oh, because then you realize the constraints of the deck, or why the deck is hard to learn, or its weaknesses, or why you're losing. And then you can take that knowledge and better attack it in the future. So yeah, I love that.
We even talked about adding that to our next testing season.
Yeah.
This is super valuable to play a match, testing all the variables. So hey, let's play a match where I'm first, and then we'll play a match where you're first, and then let's switch decks and do it again. Depending on the heroes, 4 games might be a lot, but for a single night's worth of testing, you
Yeah.
got a ton of information.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of learning, and a really productive way to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like you might not sequence the deck you're not native to as well, but that's another opportunity to just learn more, right? Like
Yeah.
ask your opponent, play open handed and just be like, hey, this is kind of the line that I'm thinking. What would you do in that instance? And they can kind of show you those things, and you'll know what to look out for. I feel
Yeah.
like the main losses I took in San Jose were just against decks that I didn't have as much uh, um, aim into, like
Oh yeah.
as many into. Um, so that just goes a long way, and not to like beat a dead horse and say like play this game a bunch to get good,
Yeah.
um, but it's also thinking about the game
Yeah.
and thinking about the math on the cards that you play can go a long way in getting good at this game as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll echo that too. Is like I'm very very happy that Talishar is picked up because like I mean I know that you are in a sort of a similar situation because of like your job and like the weird hours you work sometimes, but like I can't make it out to like 3 or 4 armories a week. Like Archer for example, he can tailor his schedule and like hit a ton of armories, which is great. I and
Awesome.
yeah, it's awesome, and that's one of the reasons he's such a good player. But like I think that something you touched on is like you think about the game a lot. Like I know that sounds like dumb and obvious, but like that's a very important, like I am consistently thinking, like I'm that guy in the meme, with the couple in bed and she's like he's probably thinking about other women, and then it's like it's over here, it's like what's the best way to pitch stack this?
Lines,
Yeah, exactly. And like I think about the game a lot, and like I try to listen to every piece of audio content that I can. I try to read all the articles. Like that's how I kind of try to make up for it. And like yeah, just thinking about the game all the time, and also Talishar being able to like test deck ideas at 3 a.m. in your underwear is tight. Not that I do that actually, because that's too late for an old man like me, but yeah. And then also there's something else you said too that I wanted to like go back and touch on is like you like play and talk with people that are better than you, and like it's kind of a weird like try not to be the smartest person in the room is like some old like career ladder advice, but like it's true, like yeah, exactly. It's like that's why I was talking earlier about like Eli and Archer. Like I think those guys are like probably objectively better than I am at the game, and I love that like they'll chat with me about it. Like I love that they can say, hey, like if I was playing like last season, if I was playing Chain and Archer was like looking over my shoulder and he was like, hey, like maybe you should have considered like XYZ line. Like I love that because like and it doesn't have to be like a strictly better player than you, but like if I were to like start jumping onto FaB, I'd be like, yo Jacob, like it's good with that FaB because you have a significant amount of experience on FaB, and yeah, I just think that like surrounding yourself with people that are better at something than you, and that are or maybe even like for Eli, he's very specialized in Lexi, and if I picked up Lexi, I would 100% be sliding into his DMs, right? So
I mean, and it might not even be a matter of being better, which in the case I think these players are, but maybe it's just a matter of like trusting someone's knowledge. Like,
oh sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I view all those people as peers.
Yeah,
I think they've
that's a better way to put it.
They share some knowledge, and I appreciate it when people ask me because in that instance I just feel trusted to be like, okay, cool, you respect my opinion on the game, you want to know what I want to do in this situation or how I feel about some card, and it feeds the nerd itch where it's like I just get to talk about the nerdy thing that I love.
Yeah.
So that's awesome too. I also love taking down hot takes. Some people just say
love hot takes.
That's just wrong. Like like some people complaining about all of these tiger cards going into FaB. I don't see it.
Nah.
I don't see it. I don't think it makes FaB better. I don't think it makes Katsu better. Hot take. I think.
Yeah. I haven't messed around with Katsu too much. I want to, but I'm also just like, like, why wouldn't you just play FaB, right? Like, why wouldn't you just play FaB as is? But I mean, it's again hot take, and somebody. It's kind of the same thing with like Arachne. Like, I want somebody to figure out Arachne, and I definitely want to play that deck, but
Someone's
somebody,
gonna figure out Arachne. Someone will
yeah,
figure it out.
somebody smarter than me and more dedicated than me will figure out Arachne, and I will copy their deck list and then tune it, which is my favorite thing to do is tune things.
Oh, dude, we're deck tuners all day. I'm all about that.
Yeah. I don't know if you listen to the MNR podcast. It's definitely folks listening. If you haven't, M-NR. They call it Manor. Anyway, it's the Michael Hamilton and Roger Bodie podcast. Michael Hamilton, you may have heard of him, world champion of Flesh and Blood. But Roger Bodie actually has like his co-host. He's actually quite a good player, I think, and has a really good mind for it. But like he said a couple of times, like, my favorite thing to do in this game is to turn to turn D's into C's and C's into B's. So he's he's saying like he'll look at a deck list and you'll say like, why don't we cut this card and put in this like slightly better version of this card, right? Or like this card isn't really doing much for the matchup, or like this card is just like a win more card. So like let's cut this and put in this other card that'll give us some percentage points. And I think that's like, yeah, I think that's a really valuable thing as well. But yeah, we've been gabbing on. Man, I could talk to you for hours, Jacob. So we've been gabbing on and on. Where can people find you on social media? Are you on the Discords? You on the Twitters?
I am on Discord. Discord and Twitter are Hermitry, all lowercase. Yeah, I'm around. I love the FaB Twitter stuff. I'm going to be more active. I may look to start streaming some Talishar games.
Hell yeah.
My goofy Rhinar deck. So yeah, I'm around.
Man, I feel like I think I've done a couple of like kind of testing the water streams, and you're gonna do some streams. We're both Rhinar stands, so like I feel like we need to mix it up a little bit. People are gonna think we're like Rhinar specialists or something. But
we may be.
Yeah. Okay, so let's wrap up. But before we do, I want to hear one smoking hot take about the upcoming Dynasty meta. For Classic Constructed.
The hottest take for the Classic Constructed meta is that Icelander's still good, and they didn't do anything to stop it from just getting better. You know what I mean? I don't think they added new tools, but I think the deck's just going to continue to get tuned. And Mech Suit's not good.
Ooh, I agree. Mech Suit is probably trash.
I want to play the Megazord deck. I wanted to, but I don't think so.
Yeah, can you run? Is that legendary? Can you run 3 of those in your deck? It's not legendary, right?
No, it's not. The Invoke, no.
Yeah.
You can run 3 in the deck.
Yeah, I think that card. I think like that is such a sweet card, and I think if you're able to pull it off, you'll probably win the game. But you also have to pull it off, which is like, no, I agree. I think that's a hot take, and I think I love it, and I think I agree. I have probably a couple hot takes here. Yeah, well, you actually took mine. Icelander is still the best deck. I have another one. Hanabi Blaster is bad, even though it top aided. What was the third one? Oh yeah, Arachne is gonna be, once people figure it out, probably like the best fatigue deck in the format. And people aren't. And that's the thing is like people aren't. This could be a whole.
I was gonna say we should break this off into its own.
Hold on, my headphones just beeped at me. That was weird. But
hot takes, we could do a whole episode on this.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode of hot takes, which maybe we should do some bonus content sometime. Just like some YouTube lives of like, give me some hot takes. Shit, that's actually a really good idea. But no, I think the thing with fatigue is like people are like, oh yeah, you deck your opponent, that's how you win. But like, I think that like when people say fatigue, it's like a stolen term from Hearthstone, so it's a dumb term anyway. But like, I think that Arachne is going to be a really good deck at controlling your opponent's game state. And I think that some really good players are going to figure out a really good Arachne deck. People are going to jump on it and say, this deck's terrible, and then jump off of it, but it's going to continue to put up results. Because it's just got a bunch of insane cards. And so, like, you have people like Big Brain Michael Hamilton who will probably figure out an insane Arachne deck and just destroy everybody because they're putting like sink belows in arsenals and never attacking again, that kind of thing. Which was a reference to Imagine Worlds, where Michael Hamilton destroyed his opponent's arsenal very sneakily. But yeah, I think that's it. I think that was a good. Those were some good hot takes. Yours was kind of cold because it referenced Icelander, but I'll allow it. Great. So just as a recap, you can find Jacob on Twitter and Discord at Hermitry, probably because he's a hermit who collects toys. If you're watching us on YouTube, you don't need to know this, obviously, but if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, wherever you get your podcast, you can find us on YouTube as well for some extra content outside of the Enlightened Mike podcast. Just search Team Galaxy Brain on YouTube, and you can find us there. All right. Well, Jacob, it's been a pleasure. I suspect we shall see you more regularly going forward into the future, which I greatly look forward to. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. This is Tim, that's Jacob, and we'll see you later. Say bye, Jacob.
Oh, bye-bye.
Okay. Sick.